Silence is rarely empty. Most of the time, it is a message you simply do not want to hear. People imagine betrayal as something loud and dramatic. A shouting match, a slammed door, a knife raised high in anger. But real betrayal is quiet. It walks slowly. It smiles. It sits beside you for months, sometimes years, learning your habits, learning your fears, learning the soft places in your armor. The truth is uncomfortable. The person who eventually hurts you the most is often the person you once trusted the most. You do not invite enemies into your life. You invite allies. You invite friends. You invite partners. And yet history, both personal history and human history, keeps repeating the same pattern. The downfall rarely comes from outside the walls. It comes from someone who was allowed to stand inside them. 500 years ago, a man from Florence observed this pattern with brutal clarity. Niccolò Machiavelli watched kings lose their thrones, generals lose their armies, and powerful families collapse not because of obvious enemies, but because of misplaced trust. He wrote about something most people refuse to accept. Human nature is not built on loyalty by default. Loyalty is rare. Self-interest is common. People are generous when it costs them nothing. People are honest when lying gives them no advantage. People are loyal until loyalty becomes inconvenient. This does not mean everyone is evil, but it does mean something far more dangerous. Everyone has a price. Sometimes that price is money. Sometimes it is status. Sometimes it is attention. Sometimes it is fear. The naive mind believes trust should be given freely. The perceptive mind understands that trust must be earned slowly and tested quietly. Most people never perform those tests. They rely on feelings. They rely on charm. They rely on the warm illusion that someone who laughs with them cannot possibly harm them. But charm is one of the oldest tools of manipulation. The most effective predator never looks like a predator. A predator that looks dangerous scares the prey away. A predator that looks harmless gets close enough to strike. That is why the most dangerous people in your life rarely appear dangerous. They appear helpful. They appear supportive. They appear understanding. And if you observe carefully, 3 subtle behaviors often reveal them long before the damage is done. The first sign is the illusion of rapid closeness. Healthy relationships grow slowly. Trust grows like a tree. It takes time, repeated actions, and seasons of proof. But some people attempt to create instant intimacy. You meet them and within days they begin sharing their deepest struggles, their darkest memories, their most painful experiences. They speak about betrayals in their past, about how everyone has hurt them, about how they finally feel safe with you. At first, this feels flattering. You think, they must trust me. But trust does not appear overnight. Real trust is built through time and consistency. When someone tries to skip that process, something else is usually happening. They are not building connection. They are building leverage. When someone reveals something personal to you too quickly, they often trigger a psychological reaction called reciprocity. You feel obligated to respond with equal openness. So you share your own weaknesses, your own fears, your own private struggles. Without realizing it, you have handed them a map of your vulnerabilities. And maps can be used in 2 ways: to guide someone safely or to guide someone directly to the places where you are easiest to hurt. The second sign is the comfort of neutrality. Some people present themselves as peaceful observers. They say they dislike conflict. They say they prefer to stay neutral. They claim they see every perspective. On the surface, this seems mature. But neutrality has a hidden meaning when someone you care about is being treated unfairly. If a person refuses to stand beside you when the truth is obvious, what they are really protecting is not fairness. They are protecting their convenience. They want access to everyone. They want to avoid choosing sides. They want to remain welcome in every room. But a person who refuses to choose sides when loyalty is required has already chosen their side. They have chosen themselves. The third sign is the performance of goodness. Some individuals constantly talk about their own virtues. They emphasize how honest they are, how loyal they are, how kind they are. They remind people repeatedly that they dislike drama, that they value integrity, that they always do the right thing. But genuine character rarely announces itself. People with real integrity do not need to broadcast it. Their behavior reveals it naturally over time. When someone constantly advertises their morality, it often functions like a shield. The louder the claim, the less people question it. This creates a powerful illusion. Once someone is labeled as the good person in a group, others hesitate to challenge them. Even when contradictions appear, people ignore them because their reputation has already been established. But reality always leaves clues. Watch how a person treats people who cannot benefit them. Watch how they behave when they believe no one important is watching. Watch how they speak about others when those people leave the room. Character leaks through small actions long before it reveals itself through large betrayals. The reason most people miss these signals is not a lack of intelligence. It is hope. Hope is one of the strongest forces in human psychology. We want to believe that the people close to us deserve our trust. We want to believe that loyalty is common. We want to believe that the stories we tell ourselves about our relationships are true. Admitting otherwise is painful. It forces us to reconsider years of interaction. It forces us to confront the possibility that we misunderstood someone. And perhaps worst of all, it forces us to admit that our judgment may have been wrong. The ego resists that realization, so instead people ignore the warning signs, they excuse the strange behavior, they reinterpret the uncomfortable moments, they convince themselves that everything is fine until the moment when it is not. Awareness changes that pattern. When you learn to observe behavior rather than promises, you begin to see people more clearly, not through cynicism, but through accuracy. You notice who respects boundaries and who tries to push through them. You notice who defends you when it matters and who disappears when standing beside you carries risk. You notice who acts kindly without needing recognition and who only performs kindness when there is an audience. And something interesting happens when you develop that clarity. Your circle becomes smaller, but the quality of the people within it becomes dramatically stronger. You stop chasing approval. You stop investing energy in unstable relationships. You stop confusing familiarity with loyalty. Instead, you build connections with people whose actions consistently match their words. Those people exist. They are not the loudest voices in the room. They are rarely the most dramatic personalities, but they possess something far more valuable: reliability. When they speak, they mean what they say. When they stand beside you, they remain there. When pressure appears, their behavior does not change. These individuals are rare, but they are the foundation of every strong alliance, every resilient partnership, every lasting friendship. The key is recognizing the difference between appearance and reality. The world rewards perception, not paranoia, not blind trust, but clear observation. Pay attention to patterns. Watch actions instead of promises. Listen carefully to what people reveal through their behavior. Because the greatest advantage you can develop is not the ability to control others, it is the ability to understand them. When you see people clearly, manipulation loses its power. Deception becomes easier to detect, and betrayal rarely arrives as a surprise. The goal is not to fear everyone. The goal is to remove illusion. Once illusion disappears, you finally gain the freedom to choose wisely. Who deserves your trust, who deserves your distance, and who has no place inside the walls you have built around your life.